What's good, DFS fam? Jaime Hernandez here with the Profit Playbook DFS. Week 5's DraftKings slate is an absolute goldmine. We're talking a $6,400 quarterback who could break the slate, and a stud running back set to feast against the worst run defense in the country. Last week, we crushed it in cash with TCU's Hoover and Notre Dame's Love. Stick around for the full week 4 recap to see what we learned. And also, today, we're diving deep into the quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers you need to cash big, plus the stacks that'll give you the edge. And drop your top week 5 play in the comments below, please, and let's get profitable. Before we jump into week 5, let's talk week 4. What worked, what didn't, and how it sets us up to cash. At quarterback, TCU's Hoover was a straight up monster. 379 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 27 yards rushing, and 39.86 DraftKings points. He was our top call for a GPP takedown at quarterback. Arkansas's Taylon Green was solid for cash with 325 yards passing, a touchdown, and 53 rushing yards. The 2 picks capped him at 23.30 DraftKings points, right? Not enough for GPP glory, but it was enough to cash in cash lineups. At running back, Ole Miss Kwan Lacey delivered with 68 yards rushing, 3 catches, and 2 touchdowns for 22.10 DraftKings points. While Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love popped off for 157 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. He was a stud call that paid off. Now, wide receiver, TCU's Eric McAllister, he stole the show with 8 catches, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 100-yard game bonus. While Jack Dwyer, his teammate, he was a little quieter with 3 catches for 32 yards. And Arkansas's Omega Blake gave us 6 catches for 60 yards. Decent, but not a slate breaker in GPP. What was the key takeaway here? We nailed the high upside stacks like TCU with Hoover, McAllister, and thanks to those 2 guys, Dwyer, he was okay, right? But we need to dodge those interception traps um, with uh, with Green, right? If we want to cash in GPPs. Well, anyways, let's use that to crush week 5. So week 4 is in the books. Now let's build those week 5 lineups. We're starting with quarterbacks where we've got studs, values, and a sneaky pump play that could save your salary. Who's your favorite quarterback this week? Let me know in the comments. So this week at quarterback, we are starting off with Marcel Reed, quarterback, Texas A&M at 9,300. Reed has taken a major step forward this season, averaging 31 DraftKings points per game with a sparkling 9-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's lethal with both his arm and his leg, right? He's coming off a bye and going up against Auburn at home as a 7-point favorite with a 29.25 team total. He's in a smash spot. And yes, Auburn did slow John Mateer on the ground last week, but Marcel Reed, his ceiling is definitely higher. He's safe for cash and strong for GPP. That's our number 1, Marcel Reed. And second, we're going back to him this week. Taylon Green, quarterback, Arkansas, 9,100. And Arkansas is a home dog, right? But Green hasn't played thanks to Notre Dame's surprisingly weak defense, giving up 289.3 passing yards per game, 119th in the country. Green is looking to bounce back after the Memphis loss. The Razorbacks still implied for nearly 30 points. The matchup, what does it do? It screams upside. High ceiling GPP option here. And I mean, his floor is high enough for cash games as well, but we love him for GPP upside for sure. So that's Green for you. And now let's go a little bit down here to Jaden Maeva, quarterback, USC 8,000. USC heads on the road to Illinois as a 6.5 point favorite, implied for 33 points. Illinois has been shredded defensively, shredded, giving up 407 total yards per game. What's the only caution here? They are playing USC, right? An early kickoff for a West Coast team traveling to the East. The only reason we mentioned that, I mean, USC just played Michigan State at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Pacific, right? But anyways, still Maeva and the Trojans, 331 passing yards per game, makes them a strong play either at cash or GPP. This outlier here versus Purdue a couple of weeks ago, I mean, Maeva and the running backs, they couldn't cash in like from the 3 yard line, 2 yard line. It was field goal after field goal after field goal. I say that's an outlier. Fire up Maeva with confidence. And another guy that we've highlighted before is Haynes King, quarterback for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at 7,900 on the salary. And King, he's been rushing like crazy, 5 rushing touchdowns in 3 games, and now faces Wake Forest. Georgia Tech is a 14.5 point favorite with a 34 point implied team total. What does that mean? It means King could account for 3 to 5 touchdowns in this game here versus Wake Forest. His legs give him one of the best ceilings on the slate. Elite dual threat, good for cash and GPP. And then we're going based off salary here. If not, I would have gone opposite him already. Then we go to Jalen Daniels, quarterback for the Kansas Jayhawks at 7,100. Daniels been steady, averaging 24.9 DraftKings points per game, but hasn't had a true ceiling game yet. Right? Facing Cincinnati, who could force him to run more, Daniels' rushing upside makes him a target. 7,100 for GP. Projected low ownership. I like Jalen Daniels in this spot here. Now, let's go opposite Daniels. And here, someone that I love and absolutely love this week, Brandon Sorsby, quarterback. Cincy, 6,400 on the salary. One of the biggest misprices on the slate. Look at that. Look at this, right? He's averaging 33.9 DraftKings points per game. Sorsby has been productive through the air and on the ground with 96 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns against Nebraska, right? I mean, I know he couldn't do much on the air here, but man, that's deep upside there. And even as a road dog at this price, he's one of the top value quarterbacks. He's definitely my core cash play of the week versus Kansas. Hopefully, Kansas bring their A game and are just scoring, scoring, scoring. You know, that gives Brendan Sorsby a lot of value and upside, right? And here we'll go with quarterback Robbie Ashford, Wake Forest, 6,000 on the salary. You can say Ashford's potential and upside is mainly with his legs, but recently he's been throwing the ball pretty well as well. A lot of picks on here early on, only 1 touchdown. So, his upside is definitely with his legs. But would say versus Georgia Tech, if it turns into a shootout for GPP purposes, I believe he's in play at 6,000. Robbie Ashford, GPP play with a shootout potential versus Georgia Tech. And now, last but not least, we're going to give you a pure pump play GPP takedown worthy quarterback. And when I talk about GPP takedown worthy quarterback, most of the time you're chasing stealing. You care about safety here. So once again, he's a pure punt GPP play. OSU, Oklahoma State is a big dog versus Baylor. Potential blowout there. You see what happened in Oregon losing 69-3. But once again, his GPP pure pump play here. But the Baylor Bears, have allowed over 420 yards per game, right? If you're desperate, Zane Flores for a potential takedown is live. Once again, can't stress this. I can't stress this. I can't stress this enough. Pure GPP pump play for Zane Flores, Oklahoma State. So our final thoughts here. For cash game priorities at quarterback, we have Marcel Reed, Jaden Maeva, Brendan Sorsby. For GPP upside, we have Taylon Green, Haynes King, Galen Daniels, and Robbie Ashford. You can use them in cash, but we're chasing that GPP right there, that upside for GPP. And I mean, if you're jamming, in studs elsewhere, running back, receiver, and a super flex, then of course Zane Flores be your guy, right? And remember, stack quarterbacks with their primary backs and wide receivers when it makes sense. The only one that I would say you can play solo here or makes sense to play solo would be Queens King. Stack it up on the other side of the ball, on the other side of the team as well, which we'll get to in a bit. The quarterbacks are locked in. Now let's dive into the running backs for Week 5 DraftKings main slate. And for this slate, I mean, I pulled out my favorite plays here, the studs, the mid-tier workhorses, and the value options that open up our builds. Remember, the goal here is profit and cash games first, right? Hence the name, the Profit Playbook DFS. Yes, we like some GPP potential, but cash games first for the profit. But once again, I mean, I will note a few upsides there, okay? Let's get right into it at running back with my studs. Here we love if this can turn out to what we expect it to turn out. We love Bryson Washington, running back for Baylor, right? Going up against Oklahoma State. Once again, Washington is a true bell cow running back, averaging 23 opportunities per game. You know what? He gets an Oklahoma State defense, just fired their head coach, and is allowing a ridiculous 258.5 yards rushing per game, dead last in the country. Baylor is a huge 20-point favorite, so the game script screams smash spot for Washington here. Expect 150 yards plus and multiple scores here. He's an elite cash game anchor that we love here. I would say a little bit too pricey for GPP, but I mean, I don't think he's gonna have a dud here. We love Bryson Washington this week's slate. And right under him, we're going to go back to him for back-to-back weeks. We have Jeremiah Love, running back, Notre Dame, at 8,500 on the salary. Love is another locked-in stud for me here. He's averaging over 20 opportunities per game and has 372 total yards in here, right? And the matchup with Arkansas projects to be a back-and-forth one, which means um, Love should stay heavily involved here. Just forget that outlier versus Miami there. He's going to be heavily involved. Notre Dame's implied team total is 35 points, so touchdown equity is massive. I love him here for both cash and GPPs. Here. And let's go a little bit down. We're going to go back to him. Another guy we're going back to him back-to-back weeks. That is Juwan Lacey, running back. Ole Miss at 6,700, right? With Lacey, this dude, I mean, he's been a monster, averaging nearly 22 opportunities per game and close to 90 yards per game, with almost 2 touchdowns per game. The matchup against LSU is tough. I'm not gonna lie, it is tough. But Ole Miss is still favored and projected for 28.5 points here. Solid mid-tier cash option with upside here. Juwan Lacey. And then based off salary wise, we missed someone here. Let's go with Desmond Reed. You can see here he's questionable, right? He practiced during Pittsburgh's bye week, but his status remains unclear there. So let's talk about him like he's going to play. Hmm. He's cleared. He's definitely in play, right? He's the motor of that Pitts offense, and we've seen him rack up 20 plus touches when healthy. So if news breaks that he's a full goal, he's a strong PPP pivot with the upside there, with ceiling upside. Again, 19.8, 16.5, and 3 points. No, it's not been good, but he's got the ceiling here in this game. So, you know, keep your eyes open for some breaking news here, whether he plays or he doesn't. Plays, we love him for GPP. If he doesn't play, eh, I don't think I'd be touching any of the running backs in that game. And a 6,400 here, we will be going with Wayman Jordan, running back, USC at 6,400 here. And I mean, Jordan, he's quietly become USC's workhorse. So here, right, over his last three, he's averaging 133 rushing yards, close to 20 touches per game. USC is a 6.5 favorite with a 33-point implied team total. But once again, the whole West Coast to East Coast, keep an eye on that. But Jordan got the workload, the efficiency, and the scoring environment there. He's another safe mid-tier option when it comes to that USC offense and running backs in general. 5,900, someone that burned me here, Kennesaw State, was Demond Claiborne. I feel like that week everyone burned us, right, with injuries. Well, anyways, Claiborne, he came back from injury and has exploded, right? He's exploded for 259 total yards and 4 touchdowns in just 2 games. Wake's a big underdog to Georgia Tech, but if the game stays close, it's because Claiborne is going to go off. Right, for tournaments, I love the idea of stacking him with Haynes King, which I mentioned earlier. Haynes King you can solo or you can stack him on the other side, and that would be with Demond Claiborne here. But you can also play him solo as well. If you don't want to play King, you can play Claiborne solo. He got high ceiling GPP written all over it this week. And then a few value options here. You are going to have to keep an eye out for um, Daniel Hishaw Jr., right? He didn't play in the second half of Saturday's game versus West Virginia due to an apparent injury, so he's questionable coming in here. But if the status there, if he's out, uh, we love smash punt value there, which would be LaShawn Williams, right? Which is his backup, which he will go in as a starter, right? And he handled 20 touches for 178 yards and a touchdown last week when Hishaw went out. And a sub 4,000 right under at 3,900. He's a must play in cash if Hishaw sits, even in GPP, right? But the only thing is, if Hishaw plays, then I'm passing on both. They're going to limit their upside there, especially after Williams having a pretty decent game. So just keep your eyes open for that news there. And then someone that I love, and I mean he's the value based off on his price, would be Le'Veon Le'Veon Moss, Texas A&M at 5,400. Moss, he's the RB1 for A&M, right? Last time out, he had 20 touches, 81 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and that was versus Notre Dame. And he is getting healthier, coming off a bye, and still priced under 5,500. I mean, RB1, so you love the role there. Gotta love the price, right? Love the environment. You love everything here. I believe what we should be expecting from him a little bit more, right? He was not on the slate here. Here was a fairly blowout. They didn't need him there. I believe was dealing with an injury there as well. So he's a strong cash and GPP value there. No, there's no injury news to monitor there. But once again, our final thoughts for running backs. When it comes to cash priorities for cash games, we love Bryson Washington, Jeremiah Love, and we love some Le'Veon Moss, right? And then, of course, if Hishaw from Kansas is out or Hishaw, he's out, then you can fire up Williams as a lock for cash as well at 3,900. And then for GPP upside, if he's healthy and clear to play, Desmond Reed, he's in play. Damon Claiborne and K'Wan Lacey for GPP upside, right? But just remember, build around the volume, matchup, and team totals when it comes to running backs. And of course, lock in the safest floor in cash. That's how we profit week in and week out. And so far, we've been doing a pretty damn good job at that, right? And last but not least, we have our running back set. So now it's time for the wide receivers. We've got an alpha WR1 here, two most likely, and then we got target hogs and a couple of cheap dart throws that could pay off big time here. You got a sleeper wide receiver you're eyeing, or a running back, quarterback that you're eyeing, please drop it in the comments and let's talk about it, right? Give us ideas. You have our ideas here in this video. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with our week 5 stud at wide receiver here. And we are going with arguably WR1. I'm going to keep saying this while these guys are on the slate. Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, Ohio State Buckeyes at 9,000. Salary's up high, but that's okay. He's the alpha WR1 this late. He's got 20 catches, 315 yards, and 4 touchdowns through 3 games this year, right? Double-digit targets, averaging 27.7 DraftKings points per game due to that dud versus Texas. He's a lock-in for cash for me. And if you wanted to, you can stack him with Julian Sayin, which I didn't really mention there, but you can do that if you wanted to go that direction. And reason I said arguably WR1, because we are going down here. Where is he at? To Makai Lemon, right? He's not getting as much love as he should. He's arguably WR1 in the country as well. When it comes to Makai Lemon, he's got 24 catches, 438 yards, and 4 touchdowns, averaging nearly 25 draft points, 100 plus yards in 3 of 4 games. 2 of 4 games, my bad. Here. He did have a long reception here that was called back versus Purdue. Clear WR1 in this offense. And Jacoby Lane was sidelined last week. Even if Jacoby Lane plays, Makai Lemon has been the X factor in this offense here. He's got an elite ceiling with Jada Mayava stacks. We love him here. Versus Missouri State, he only played about 2 quarters or even less than that. Versus Purdue, he had a huge game that was brought back, and once again, USC stalled in the red zone there. And play one of my favorites plays at wide receiver this week. And then we can go to here a little bit more down here. Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Buckeyes, 6,100, right? He's definitely thriving quietly behind Jeremiah Smith with 3 touchdowns and averaging 18.6 DraftKings points per game. He's a perfect mid-range exposure to the OSU stacks if you want to go that way with Sayin at quarterback. For a WR2, pretty decent, right? The games are getting a little bit more competitive here. So they should definitely be able to throw the ball a little bit more. Once again, Tate, he's good to go for cash or GPP. Then we go down to someone that burned us a couple of weeks ago because we passed up on him versus Georgia. See here, 44.7 is Chris Brazel, the second wide receiver, Tennessee, priced at 800 here. As you can see there, he's got 6 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns in 4 games, including a 44.7 fantasy point game that I just talked about versus Georgia. He's a legit a WR1 for this offense, right? Price in the mid tier, strong upside for both formats, safe in cash and live for GPP, right? Chris Brazil, we love this week. And we also love someone right above him. Here, which I had a highlighted week 1, which burned us there. But I mean, it is Elijah Surratt, wide receiver, Indiana, 5,900, right? He's got 5 touchdowns in 4 games. I know it's 1 and 2, right? Coming off a 992 versus Illinois. He's definitely been the top target for the Hoosiers. Forget game 1, burnt us there. And he's live with multiple big games, like I mentioned, Kennesaw versus uh, Illinois, right? But he's got potential here. He's got upside, right? Multiple touchdown games, got decent yardages there. So he's live for a mid-tier play in Elijah Surratt. And then we can go down explosive play that we do love here. And that is Mario Craver, wide receiver, Texas A&M at 5,200, right? Was like the Sorsby pick, underpriced. I believe Mario Craver, criminally underpriced. He's got explosive big play ability, averaging nearly 150 yards per game with 4 touchdowns, right? 3 straight 25 plus DraftKings points. I mean, Reed, like we highlighted earlier, to Craver is one of the best stacks on the slate. Yes, Marcel Reed is expensive. Mario Craver, that should be priced 7,000 plus, is priced at 5,200. That makes up for the salary, big salary of Reed um, there, right? Which we love that stack. We love Mario Craver this week. For some value, we can go down here to here. That buddy. Where's his name? Have Deuce Alexander, right? He's got three straight games, as you can tell there, with 4 catches, right? Coming off 94 yards and a touchdown. Also, he's trending up. He's dirt cheap, works in both cash and GP if you're trying to save salary, right? Deuce Alexander is a great pick for that. Then here, other guy that we like here, Kobe Rentis, right? Receiver, Baylor. I mean, anything can happen in that game. I love Washington at running back, but who knows? Maybe it's passing that's going to do all the damage. But just in case, Kobe Prentice at 3,200, we love, right? He's already scored 4 touchdowns here this season. Yes, the volume is not as as stud wide receiver is a little low. But guess what? The price is even lower there. The deep value GP punt that can score 22.3 fantasy points for you, right? So he's our smash value play of the week based on price alone. That's it for the receivers, right? But right before we get into the stacks, let's talk about my slate breaker of the week. Gonna be 2 here. But let's get to first. That's Cincinnati's quarterback Brandon Sorsby at 6,400. Like I mentioned, right? 6,400 in salary. He's heavily mispriced in my books, in my eyes. Yeah, so he's my slate breaker of the week, right? He's averaging 33.9 fantasy points with 96 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns in a single game earlier this season, which was versus Nebraska. And he didn't really throw the ball as much or record a passing touchdown. Recorded an interception, which is not good, but I mean, still 23.4 fantasy points with his legs, basically, right? Sorsby's should be a low-owned GPP gem who can outscore quarterbacks double his cost, which in this case, it's not FanDuel, but quarterbacks in the 9,000 range, so not double his cost, but you get what I'm saying, right? Pair him up with a cheap wide receiver. I mean, I gave you a few picks there. Run him solo to differentiate your lineups, whatever you want to do, right? There's a lot of upside there. And then the other guy that I just mentioned from Texas A&M, for slate breaker of the week, going to be here to be Mario Craver. So you can stack him up with him. Not a game stack, of course, but based off price and slate breaker potential, right? Mario Craver, Texas A&M, and Brennan Sorsby, quarterback. Or Cincinnati Bearcats. And who's your slate breaker this week? Pretty sure you guys have one. Please let me know below. So we were talking stacks, right? Stacks. Here, my first stack there. We just spoke about. Have Reed quarterback. Where did Brown come from? What in the world is going on here? When this thing's tripping up, adding players there. So Reed at quarterback here, and wide receiver. Stack him up. This is not working. You can stack him up here with Mario Craver. Where's he at? Where did he go? Where in the world? Oh, there he is. Mario Craver. I love this stack right here. I love it, right? And then another stack that you can do um, would be Ohio State. I know I didn't mention staying really, except when mentioning Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, right? But if you wanted to go that route and believe Sayan's going to go off, then definitely do that and stack him up with Jeremiah Smith. I don't know. Oh, that's why, because it's so staying. We're gonna be stacking them up. Jeremiah Smith and Tate. That's a stack there. And you can also stack up here, guys. Put in a stack of Maeva. Ava there. Makai Lemon at wide receiver. Right there. Maeva, Lemon. Then another guy that, I mean, you can run him solo, but you can also stack up. I know they're not on the same team. That will be Haynes King. Hurry up. At quarterback, Georgia Tech. That'll be more like a game stack, right? And quarterback. Go to running back here with Claiborne. That little mini game stack there. I will be giving you guys a GPP worthy lineup, cash game worthy lineup on towards the day before or right before lock, right? So either Friday night or um, Saturday morning before lock here on YouTube. So if you don't really know what to play, if you want to cash, you can go ahead and do that. I did give my cash game lineup that I used for NFL Monday Night Football, and it cashed. It was perfect. So you guys want to your eyes open for that. I will be doing that as well. Okay. Uh, but that's your week 5 DraftKings breakdown, right? We have quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, and the stacks to keep you in the green. So we're building on last week's TCU and Notre Dame hits to make this slate even bigger. If this helped you lock in your lineups, smash that like button, subscribe for weekly DFS heat. I got a sleeper you're eyeing for week 5? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk. Jaime Hernandez with the Profit Playbook DFS. Let's cash big, and I'll catch you after lock for week 6. Week 6 sleepers. Right? Stay profitable. Have a great weekend.